Alright, this is my third time trying to make this ridiculous video, so just gonna bash it out this time, and yeah, gonna have to live with any imperfections or whatever. Oh, awesome, awesome thing though, awesome, discovery, awesome. Discovery is probably too strong. Awesome development for me though, really cool thing. So this is Create a Color Sanguine Dry Lead. No, wait. Yeah, this is Create a Color Sanguine Dry Lead. I think this is basically Conte. Somebody tell me if it's not. Somebody tell me if it's different than Conte. This is Conte. I've used Conte a lot. It's great. Although, yeah, it's a freaking pain because you have to sand it down to get any kind of point on it. Love Conte. And I've been looking for something like this forever. I've been using the graphite sticks with the sanguine, and that's pretty cool and everything, but just like you can get so much darker. You get so much darker with this, as you can see. So I am really stoked. I'm really happy. So right now I'm working on this with yeah, this Create a Color sanguine lead, dry sanguine blood. By the way, little song. I know that little song. I've got my French accent. It must be terrible. I apologize. Song the blood, having like consanguineous is blood relations, and this is the Conte. So I'm kind of working with both of these. So yeah. So I discovered, and here, all right, this actually, yeah, genuine discovery. I'm gonna have to adjust the dogs. As you can see, I took out the dogs' heads temporarily. I assure you the dogs are gonna be in here, but I had to take them out for the moment because I'm not exactly sure how they're gonna fit in. And also, yeah, when I was looking at the arm, I was like, yeah, it's not, this is a problem that comes up in sketches. Sorry about that. So here, you know, this is pretty good and everything for the kind of plan, but yeah, I think you'll notice like it's not really, well, at least to me, like the arm's in a mess and they're kind of smushed down. That's okay in the sketch. I mean, I'm really just trying to get the idea. But here, I'm really trying to convey the sense that the arms are actually, they're actually wrapped around something. They're not just like smushed up against the chest. I mean, I want it to look like there's actually something being held. There's actually something. I want them to look real. I want them to look like they're coming forward in space, or at least I want them to look more like they're coming forward. I want them to look more like, I don't even know if it's better to say like to want them to look like more like real arms, but I want them to do. I want it to be different than the sketch. So that's what I'm working on now, and putting in some of the shading. This is kind of a pain because the light, the mirror is like over there. The mirror, oh, you're not here, but the mirror is like, I don't know, about 10 feet, 6 feet, yeah, 10 feet, 10 feet to my left, and the light is perfect over there. So I'm using my own arm. My own arms as reference, so I have to walk over there and look, and then walk back to the drawing over here. Yeah, so I'm sure you delight in hear me complaining about that. But anyway, the light's awesome over there. So doing that, and I think I am gonna sharpen this. I think I'm gonna take the Conte and I'm gonna get some sandpaper and take the Conte down to a sharp point today. But wow, I really, man, I just love the Create a Color lead right now. It is just, it's awesome. Yeah, I should probably go in this way. All right, let's see. Yeah, so that's the art part of this that I want to talk about. I want to talk about something else briefly. I don't want to get into it too much because the point is kind of not to get into it too deeply. What I want to talk about was a cartoonist named Scott Adams. Really, I want to talk about conspiracy theories. Well, I want to talk about the danger of getting into conspiracy theories, or the problem of getting into conspiracy theories. Conspiracy politics. I'm just kind of going insane with politics. So, spoiler alert, there's Scott Adams. This is what happened to him. Scott Adams is a cartoonist. He died not too long ago, quite recently, as a matter of fact. And he, if you don't know, I think probably a lot of you watching this channel, if you're checking this out, you probably would know, but that's neither here nor there. So he created a comic strip called Dilbert, and it was pretty huge in the 90s, as I recall. I mean, I remember reading it, and yeah, it was okay. It was a decent, it was fine. I don't really have any deep critiques of it. Its weaknesses became pretty apparent as time went on. I mean, I don't think, it's not really gonna hold up, which is okay. Not everything has to hold up. Point here being, like, it's not like a Calvin and Hobbes. It's not like a Peanuts. It's not like a comic strip you're gonna read and remember and really love. It was pretty lazy in terms of the actual comic strip. I mean, there wasn't a lot of love. There wasn't a lot of craft put into it. Again, that's fine, and not everything has to be that way. Certainly not. It does. I think you will see if you go check out Dilbert. It's more of a. It's more of a marketing strategy than a comic strip in a lot of ways, and it worked. I mean, there's a lot of those Dilbert. There's a lot of Dilbert merch, a lot of Dilbert tchotchkes. My understanding is Scott Adams did quite well financially with it, and again, I don't really have any. I'm not fussing about that or criticizing or anything. I'm just like, what's striking to me is, like, without the controversies of his that he got into later, I doubt I would even really remember. I would barely remember Dilbert. It just wasn't that. Yeah, it just wasn't a memorable thing. So yeah, so he got he kind of did. Bill Watterson, who did Calvin and Hobbes, like, he did reverse Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes, Bill Watterson, didn't really do the merch thing, and Dilbert totally did, right? Dilbert went crazy with the merch stuff. It was all about the merch stuff. Again, whatever, that's not a big deal. It's not something I don't want to come across as being critical of that. It's not important. So but the other thing, and he also really tried to stay in the public eye. Bill Watterson pretty much disappeared. Didn't really have public presence. I don't think ever really. So, but Scott Adams, right, online, and very much tried to remain in the public eye. And long story short is he got pretty MAGA. He got pretty right wing, and that's not. I'm not here to criticize. I'm not here to criticize those politics, at least not here. I'm not here to talk critically about his views in the sense of, like, I didn't like them, or I don't want to get into that. That's not really the point. The point was he got to be, like, pretty political. He got to be this MAGA person, and he was canceled because he saw, this was so stupid. He was canceled because he saw this stupid poll. I'm not kidding. It was stupid. It was a Rasmussen poll. And it said something like 50% of black people didn't want her to be around white people, or thought white people were evil, or something. It was something just ridiculous like this. And Scott Adams saw this and freaked out and was like, white people, just stay away from black people. Black people are a hate group now. You should try and avoid them as much as you can. And this actually, in his political stuff, it seems like he did get kind of paranoid. It seems like he did think it was all this, like, violence being threatened against him. Like, he claimed, like, maybe living in California, he was in danger of his life, or he was in danger of physical harm in some form because he was a Trump supporter. And I just cannot believe that. I mean, who would know? Walking down the street in California, who's gonna, like, and he wasn't, he wasn't that well. Like, he wouldn't be recognized on the street. I wouldn't have known And, you know, until after he died, I wouldn't have known Scott Adams at all. I mean, and, you know, by the way, if you're moaning, that's my dog at the top of the stairs is fussing because he wants his, man, he's loud. He wants his morning treats. So, all right, apologies for that. Anyway, yeah, so so he said this stupid thing. And why is it stupid? Okay, first of all, it's stupid because Rasmussen isn't like a great poller, isn't like great in terms of polling. So like, there's that. Don't like, yeah, Rasmussen not a great polling service, is my understanding. I'm not really qualified to judge, but yeah, I wouldn't. Okay, just more to the point. Don't ever take a position on the basis of like one thing you've heard. Don't buy stocks. Don't invest in something because you heard something from one person, from one source. Just, God, that is just a terrible idea. Don't look at one piece of data. Human beings are terrible about this. There's a tendency to look at like 2 or 3 points of data as opposed to an AI, a computer that can look at like tons of them. So you remember that when you're evaluating your decisions. Remember that you're probably making these decisions on the basis of just 2 or 3 data points, and that's not ideal, right? I mean, you really like to have more data than that. Finally, this Rasmussen poll that said, I don't know, the black people hated or didn't like white people or whatever. It's an issue poll. Issue polls are always terrible. If you poll people, do you want gun control? You know, you get 70-30 yes or something. What does that mean? I mean, what does that mean does that mean people will vote on it? Does that mean people will, what do they think gun control is, right? It doesn't tell you that. Issue polling is just terrible. It's really not AI. I don't really think you can do, at least I think it's terrible. I think a lot of other people think it's pretty terrible. So I'd strongly recommend, yeah, I don't think this would be a danger for most of you, but I would recommend, yeah, you might want to leave issue polling behind. But anyway, Scott Adams gets all right-wing, gets all MAGA, gets all conspiracy theorist and everything. And here's the sad thing, he was successful, man. I mean, he had it was an okay comic strip, it was fine. Not going to change the world, but not everything has to. And that was cool, and he was kind of interesting for having done that. But then, once he got into the politics stuff and the MAGA stuff, he just all that went away, and he's just one more conspiracy theory person. And this is kind of the problem, not kind of, I mean, this is one of the big problems, I think, with conspiracy theories, is once you get into those, you're just one more conspiracy guy among others. Like the stuff that, you talk to conspiracy people, they all sound the same, right? They all went to conspiracy school to learn how to talk the same way, and they're not interesting. I mean, I don't know if you've known conspiracy people. I think you've probably, if you've had friends like this, I think you've probably had the experience of what makes them interesting and unique, and what makes them kind of, really kind of cool people that you want to be friends with, that you like, and that you're interested in. That goes away, and they're just one more conspiracy theory person. And again, they just all sound the same. It's like they're pod people. They all went to school. It's the conspiracy theories are always the same. There's also the problem. The biggest indicator if you'll believe in a conspiracy theory is if you believe in one conspiracy theory, you'll believe in the others, because it's just, I know, it's like potato chips. You can't stop at one. I mean, if you're going to believe one, then why don't you believe the others? If you believe, something about a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. that doesn't even have a basement, well, why wouldn't you believe that the moon landing is faked? And it just rolls on from there. But really the point I want to make is that it's sad, because Scott Adams could have been, he could be remembered as the Dilbert guy. He could be remembered as this kind of interesting guy who made this pretty okay comic strip. And it was, kind of a big culture. It was a big cultural thing. Could could have been remembered that way, and he's not. And he's kind of remembered as this, I don't know, this paranoid conspiracy theory guy who, like, it's like you listen to him, he had to be smarter than everybody. He had to have this secret knowledge of these conspiracy theories, and it just makes him like everybody else. Or not everybody else, it just makes him like all the conspiracy people, theory people. They all sound the same. Not everybody's made a really successful, kind of interesting comic strip called Dilbert. That's a pretty interesting thing about him as a person, and that just gets consumed. That just gets devoured by the politics and by the conspiracies. And I think that's a real sad part of them. It's a real sad part of what happens. All right. So I don't like this arm that much. Pretty pleased with this so far. So, and by the way, let me just real quick, I'm running out of time here because I don't want this to be too long. Generally, I advise working on the whole drawing at the same time. Not that I'm your teacher or something like that. Not that I'm giving lessons here or something, but generally that seems to be a better idea here for really, yeah, just kind of practical reasons. I'm having to, I'm approaching it a different way. But yeah, this arm there's something wrong. It's not working. So I'm gonna work on that. This is pretty okay, I think. Also gonna have to figure out how big the dog's heads can be. Yeah, because I got to fit them all in here. I think that dog's head, you can't really see it, but there's a dog's head here. I think that size is okay. I have to fit in the dog biting his arm. Maybe the dog can be biting his arm. Maybe this head can be biting his arm. All right, anyway, I will get cracking on that. So yeah, thanks for checking us out. Hey, yeah, have a great day. Peace out.